Welcome to today's presentation on teacher learner relationships, rights and responsibilities. In this session, we will explore how the teacher learner relationship confers rights and responsibilities on both parties, no, and how evolving classroom management approaches contribute to an optimal educational experience. Let's begin by understanding how the teacher learner relationship forms the foundation of an effective learning environment. The teacher learner relationship is a two-way partnership where both the teacher and the student have the rights and responsibilities. This dynamic creates a culture of mutual respect and enhances the overall learning experience. So, in the part of the teachers, no, the responsibilities, our responsibilities as educators is to provide clear instructions and guidance. We have discussed this in the previous module that when we give instruction to our students, especially that you will be handling secondary level students, you make sure that everything is spelled out clearly. We do not have to assume that they understand. Then, second, we also have to create a safe and supportive environment in which we give our students the opportunities to express their thoughts, no, and whenever they commit mistakes, uh, we make sure that we impart lessons from that mistakes, and we should give them as well rooms for improvement. No, we do not need to be so perfectionist so that our students no will not be intimidated. And third, also, we need to give respect to students' individuality, no? Since there's what we call individual differences. And we say individual differences, no? We are similar, but to some extent, no, we are different. That's why we have group of friends, because there are individuals that we don't feel comfortable to be with them. But with our group of friends, now we are so comfortable. There are similarities of interest, similarities of um, preferences. However, with your circle of friends, there are also times that you disagree. That makes us a unique individual. Because despite our similarities, we also have our differences. And also, as teachers, we need to encourage student participation. That's why whenever we have sessions or class with our students, we make sure that we do not the only one talking. No, we provide more time for them, no, to be engaged. So, an example, no, when a teacher listens to a student's perspective during a classroom discussion, it somehow um, gives importance, no, to respect, and that students will feel that they are being valued. And in terms of the students' responsibilities, they also need to realize the importance of being actively, participating in any class activities, and also respecting not just the teacher but also their classmates. And also, as students, it's very important that they need to complete the assignments or any course task on time, and to ask questions freely, whenever they want something to be clarified. So, for example, a student who follows classroom rules and collaborates with peers contributes, to a positive classroom atmosphere. For many years, classroom management was rooted in behavioral theories of teaching and learning. I think these theories were already tackled, no, in your child and adolescent learner centered principles. The behavioral theories of um, Ivan Pavlov, no, um, Albert Bandura. We have B.F. Skinner, especially, on rewards and punishment. Um, that they believe that our behaviors, our actions are just being shaped, by our environment. This environment refers to um, the people that surround us. No? It could be our parents, no? Family members, teachers, our significant others, no? Or your peers. And this model of teaching emphasized, no, the teacher-centered classroom management, emphasized controlling no student behavior through stimulus response techniques. The characteristics of a teacher centered management: first, we have the hierarchical authority structure. No, for example, in the secondary school setting, because he will soon be teaching in the secondary level, no, we follow a hierarchical authority structure that is to maintain order, no, to ensure that everyone knows the responsibilities. Now, at the top of the hierarchy is the school principal, who makes major decisions, no, and oversee the entire school. Below the principal, no, are the department heads who manage specific subjects like science, math, or English. These are what we call the master teachers. No? Teachers report to their department heads or master teachers for concerns regarding curriculum, schedules, or resources needed no, for their classes. And finally, we have the stakeholders, no, the students, who follow the guidance of their class advisors and subject teachers, no, for academic and personal development. And we also have the parents as one of the stakeholders, in which they will be closely collaborating with the class advisors and the subject teachers. Second characteristic is the emphasis on discipline and order. So, in the classroom, the teacher implements a set of rules to maintain order, no, such as submitting assignments on time, following proper seating arrangements, no, raising hands before speaking, observing silence during exams. So, if a student consistently follows these rules, they are praised or given positive reinforcement, such as a merit point or recognition. However, if a student repeatedly breaks the rules, like talking during lectures or submitting late no work task, they receive appropriate consequences like warnings or deductions no, on participation grades. And then we have the use of extrinsic rewards and punishments. When we say punishments, no, especially that the Department of Education is now advocating no, a student-centered teaching approach, we do not implement corporal punishments in our classroom. When we say corporal punishment, no, these are consequences that are harmful to our students. No, that might posit harmful effects. No, it could be physically, emotionally, psychologically. Unlike in our times, no, when I was in the grade school, that was way back 1990s, our teachers could just punish us whenever we are late. No, when we were late, our teachers will let us be punished no, in front of the flagpole during a very sunny season. We will be having the sit on the air position for 1 hour. No, it was not a concern during the time because that was still not teacher-centered approach in our time. It's a very traditional teacher-centered classroom setup. But in our times today, it's already being prohibited. No, that we will punish our students, no, physically, like sitting on the air, um, no, in our vernacular, paludhon pa mi sa una, or while we kneel down, there are books that will be placed on top of our hands now, and whenever it fell down, we will be having additional load to carry. Those are what we call corporal punishments. When we say punishments, now in our time today, that's no longer implying that we will be um, giving those. Instead, it might have the demerits like deduction of points. No, it is something that is not hurting our students physically. But of course, when we have demerits or deduction of points, we make sure that from the very start, our students know and understood um, very well no, our rules so that um, whenever they will be violating such rules, they would know the consequence. That's why orientation for both parents and students in the first month of the academic year is very important. And as teachers as well, when we give course tasks or assignments, no, we always remind our students, especially in the secondary level, the consequences of late submission. Okay? Um, in here, when we say extrinsic rewards, that could refer to bonus points on quizzes. You may have additional 5 points now for early submission or manifesting a positive or good behavior in the classroom. No, you should be very specific as well in your students of what you expect. No, having a good behavior like listening actively, sitting properly while having the classroom discussion, not disturbing the classmates while having the course task. No? You need to list down and explain to them what are expected to them and what you expect for what a good behavior is so that they would know how to behave. No? Certificates of recognition, we will give them certificates na every quarter to recognize those performers. And we also have the class privilege, no? That is choosing a group activity, no? Or it could be early dismissal if that's what the class na agrees. On the other hand, when we say punishment, no, these are students no, who violate rules like cheating, being tardy, or disrupting the class na, will face consequences. It could be verbal warnings, additional written tasks, or it could be lower participation grades. Over the last decade, the shift no, of approach from the traditional teacher-centered classroom management to student-centered classroom management is now focusing on constructivist principles of learning. No? That is advocating a student-centered classroom management. So this approach emphasizes students' engagement, no? The sense of inquiry, and collaborative learning. So the key features of a student-centered management, we have first the shared leadership between teachers and students. No? For example, as educators, especially no, in the secondary level, we will form committees within the class who will be the cleaners of the day, or it could be event planning committee or peer tutoring group. No? That is, we assign student leaders to each of the group and to let the student leaders present their action plans. Okay. Then we have the community building activities. For example, at the beginning of the school year, the teacher will implement a buddy system, where each student is paired with a classmate to support each other in academic and emotional well-being. So the pairs might be in rotation for every month. That is to help students interact with different classmates. So I had this experience when I was in grade one, in which our grade one teacher, we were being paired with a slow reader classmate, and we help our classmate that is struggling in reading, and we help mentor them to read. However, it's also my experience that in the body system there is that disadvantage. If the teacher is not closely monitoring or guiding the pairing, there are tendencies for those who are performers to be intimidating those who are struggling secretly. No, they might be um, verbally or emotionally. It could be physically. They will be having that intimidation, while um, instead of helping, the purpose of helping, it defeats the purpose. Now that's why it's a reminder for us teachers that whenever we have this buddy system, pairing the performer and the non-performer students, now for that purpose we make sure that we will be closely no monitoring so that students know to avoid that disadvantage of bullying. And of course, before that pairing activity, we make sure that everything is clear to them. No, the purpose of the activity, we make sure that we instill the value of helping out rather than having that sense of being um, superior over the others. Another activity that we can also give is a classroom cleanup drive, in which a class is given the opportunity, every Friday, for example, to have that small groups, that they will be assigned in different cleaning tasks, or it could be per year level. No, in when I was teaching at the Heronite High School, I was handling grade 7 to grade 10. So, um, one of our community building activities is that every year level, all sections, for example, first year students, all sections will be cleaning the whole campus every first Friday of the month, no? An hour before the class will officially start. So with this activity, students will have the opportunity to interact, to be working together with other students from different sections. No, that is also building that sense of community within their year level to be completing tasks. Now, while the other year level will also have their turn on the next Friday of the month. Then we have the third um, characteristic, that is emphasis on intrinsic motivation. So in here, the teacher encourages intrinsic motivation by helping students discover personal satisfaction and interest, no? Rather than relying on external rewards. So, suppose, for example, you will be giving a creative, writing activity wherein we ask students to write a personal essay about, their dreams and future goals. No? Instead of focusing on grades, no, or rewards, the teacher will highlight, how writing can help them express their thoughts, their emotions, and personal experiences. No? The positive feedback that we give to our students on effort, creativity, and self expression will reinforce, the idea that writing is indeed a way to explore their identity and voice, rather than just we focus on giving instruction on how much grade can they earn, what criteria they will be rated. No? Take note again, you will be handling secondary level students. No? And to promote further intrinsic motivation, a teacher will allow students to choose, their own topics and encourages them to share, their work with the class, and to also have, no, had that sense of pride and accomplishment. Another way of emphasizing intrinsic motivation is, suppose, for example, though we will be requiring our students to create a passion project, no, where they select, we do not provide them what to do, but they are to select a topic, that will reflect, things that they enjoy. It could be painting, environmental issues, it could be music or technology. Yeah, we will give them few weeks to work on that project now with minimal intervention, and we allow them to explore their interests at their own pace. No? So after that classroom, after finishing the completion of the passion project, we will be having the classroom showcase where students will present their project and reflect on these guide questions. No? What motivate you to choose a topic? No? And what these are the questions that we can uh, provide our students after showcasing their output. No? What they enjoyed most about the process and how pursuing that passion project made them feel accomplished. And then we have the active student participation and decision making, as one of the characteristics. As at the start of the school year, as teachers, we need to facilitate a classroom orientation, or it could be a classroom constitution activity, where students collectively draft the classroom rules and agree on consequences for violations. Us teachers will be guiding the discussion, but allow students to suggest rules, such as respecting others' opinions, submitting work on time, and maintaining cleanliness. So once everyone agrees, both the teacher and the students will sign the document, for example, to symbolize their commitment. And during group project, for example, where students are also given the option, that is to vote on project topics, and decide how tasks will be distributed among members. The teacher will be leaving the brainstorming within group, how they're going to delegate responsibilities. The teacher will encourage the students to express their opinion and to listen to each other before reaching the final decision. Then we have here the comparison between the custodial orientation versus the humanistic orientation. So first we have the highly controlling, which reflect a teacher-centered orientation. No? Example, the teacher will assign seating arrangement, no? Strictly monitors every student's movements. In our time, when I was in grade 1, we were being required that whenever the teacher will have the lecture, both of our hands will be placed on top, no, on top of the desk. No, and we are not allowed to have that unnecessary movements or the small talk. No? In our time, that was very traditional. That was in 1990s, in which uh, our educational system during that time is still advocating the teacher-centered approach. For highly controlling classroom environment, that will reflect the student must ask permission first, no, before they can talk. No? Even in small tasks, like small task, I mean sharpening pencils. No? The teacher sets, when we say rigid rules, there is no flexibility. In here, uh, students, the output will be given emphasis as to breaking rules. Late submission will have that punishment. It's not just demerits, but it could also imply a more uh, harmful. It could pose a harmful effect to the students, like intimidation, or it could be verbal abuse during in our time. But that's why now the Department of Education, it's very strictly prohibited to be employing punishment, corporal punishment, specifically when students break rules. So we do not do something that could somehow give more damage to our students. While when we say humanistic orientation, it encourages self-discipline. In here, for example, the teacher involves students in setting classroom rules and explain why each rule is important. No? The teacher will trust students to regulate their own behavior and make responsible choices. And also, in here, mistakes are seen as learning opportunities. The second, we have the impersonal teacher-centered teacher-student relationship, no? In which the teacher is very transactional by nature. The teacher focuses solely on delivering the lesson, maintaining a strict business-like approach. Take note, it doesn't mean that we are advocating student-centered approach. We will be tolerating mistake. No? We should not be on the extreme side of it. Being impersonal, being business-like, transactional-like teacher is not good, especially if you are handling secondary level students because they are still immature. We need to build relationship with them. However, we also need to be firm but subtle at the same time. No, we should be consistent of what a yes and a no is in our classroom. That's another story if uh, we place boundaries to our students. One way for me, because I'm a very firm teacher when I was in um, depth end, no? Handling secondary level students. But I make sure to it that I build relationship with them. So my technique during my time is that to build relationship, no, during um, lunch break, I eat with them. No, I will have that casual talk with them while we eat together, no, with our baon because students will usually have their baon, no, instead of going home because it's too hot, no, to be walking. Um, from school to their home and going back to school. So they just have their baon. So instead of eating by myself, I spend time with them during lunch break and we have that informal kumustahan, sharing of food. No? In that way, I was able to relate to them, no? Their struggles, as well as they can feel that you are not just a firm teacher during lecture, but they can feel the soft side in you, that is to share your food, to somehow relate to them at their context, that you will be asking, how are they, especially, what are they will be doing during weekends, their passion time, and even sharing of jokes, that will help you build relationship with them during free time. And while when we say build close personal relationship, it doesn't mean that when we build close personal relationship, there is no boundary. Of course, there is a boundary to instill respect. But when we say boundary, that boundary should not hinder us from understanding them, no? Who they are as a person. Uh, Example, the teacher will take time, before you start your class, you greet them, you make sure how you ask how they are doing, know how are they spending their long weekends, for example, if there are holidays, how their summer vacation went, no? And the teacher will encourage also sharing of thoughts and experiences, not just during class discussion, but it could be, during free time, as what I have shared. Then we have the focus on order and discipline. That is for the teacher-centered classroom management. Example, the teacher creates a highly structured classroom environment where every activity follows a fixed routine. Example, the seating arrangement is assigned, group discussions are limited, students must follow strict rules like no, raising hands before speaking or submitting tasks exactly on time. So the teacher here imposes consequences for every rule violation without asking for student input. The other way, we have the focus on student autonomy. The teacher will set general guidelines but allow students to decide how to approach the task. That is, maybe during group projects, students can choose their group members, assign their own roles, how to delegate their tasks, decide on the format of their presentations. The teacher encourages students to set their own deadlines and reflect on the quality of their work. But when we say set their own deadlines, it doesn't mean that they are given the full privilege. No? What if they are going to have the deadline at the end of the academic year? That's unreasonable. We make sure that they think the feasibility of the project at the reasonable deadline that they can finish. That's still guided. So even in student-centered classrooms, though, we cannot avoid this behavior. Behavioral problems can arise still. However, the approach to resolving them is different. So, first we have the peer mediation programs. So, the teacher, for example, will introduce the peer mediation program where selected students are trained to help resolve minor conflicts among classmates. So, for example, two students have a misunderstanding over group project responsibilities. Instead of involving yourself immediately, you can have the students, those who are trained, the peer mediator, a fellow classmate, for example, will help them talk through the issue. The peer mediator listens to both sides, encourages a respectful dialogue, and helps the students come to a mutual agreement on how to divide the work fairly. But of course, we make sure that we are there, during the mediation, just as a guide, so that students will also be empowered to resolve conflicts at their level. But if the conflict is quite too sensitive, too extreme already, it needs our intervention as a teacher. And as a teacher as well, we need to be fair, constructive at the same time. We make sure that both sides are being listened to. Then we have the conflict resolution activities. So the teacher, for example, will conduct a conflict resolution activity that is to help manage disagreements constructively. For example, the teacher will present a scenario where two group members disagree on how to present their project. The students are asked to role play both sides of the conflict. They use the iMessage technique. iMessage technique is a workshop that we will be letting our students practice the own how they feel rather than blame to others what they feel. Like for example, I feel upset when my ideas are not corrected. That is letting our students practice how to express their feelings and suggest possible solutions. Encouraging self-regulation is we promote our students to manage their own behavior and learning habits. Of course, for example, during a week-long research project, the teacher will ask students to create a personal study plan where they set their own deadlines for completing research, writing, and finalizing the project. So the teacher will encourage students to monitor their progress using a checklist, and reflect how they will follow their plan. So self-regulation is all about teaching the life skills to our students, know how to positively handle emotions, especially when they are faced with difficult situations like disagreements, disappointments, or even how to compromise with their classmates. Then we have here a comparison between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So for extrinsic motivation, from the word extrinsic meaning it is referring to external sources of motivation. Example, the teacher will announce that the group with the best project presentation will receive bonus points, or it could be certificates. No? Therefore, the students have the tendency to work hard mainly for the purpose of earning the reward, no? Focusing on meeting the grading criteria, the focusing on that the bonus points rather than enjoying the project. While for intrinsic motivation, the teacher allows students to choose their own project topics, no? And based on their personal interest, it could be no, environmental issues, technologies, or music. Students are more engaged and invested because they are passionate about the topic, not just about the grade. Then we have rewards based. No? The teacher will announce, for example, that those who will actively participate in a debate will receive extra points, no, in their final grade. So many students will join the discussion, but primarily for the extra points, not for the topic itself. No? While for the interest based, teacher will allow students to select debate topics that they're passionate about, and students in here will not just be focusing on the extra points, but they have the tendency to engage because they like the topic, they find it interesting, and they can express their opinions eagerly because it resonates of what interests them. Then we have temporary compliance. If students are focusing on extrinsic motivation, temporary compliance is supposed, for example, the teacher will assign cleaning tasks, no, with the promise of bonus points for participation. Students will clean the classroom quickly without much care, no, magdali-dali, just to finish the task, only to earn the reward. Once the activity ends, they no longer maintain classroom cleanliness. Well, for long term engagement, the teacher explains the importance of cleanliness for health and positive learning environment. No? Students will brainstorm ways to keep the classroom clean daily. They'll create a cleanliness duty schedule, who are the cleaners for Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and so on. They will feel responsible, and consistently maintain the classroom even without external rewards. Then we have the teacher driven. So if the teacher will assign specific topics that provide detailed instruction and dictates as to the format of the presentation, student will just passively follow the guidelines, and show little interest or enthusiasm. Just they just have to finish the output, as instructed. While for student driven, we will be giving options for our students. Like for example, we let our students decide as to whether they are to present it in a poster type. It could be an infographic format, it could be in a video format, essay format, or it could be in an oral presentation. With that, they are also They also have to decide as to the project timeline, though that will somehow result to creativity and engagement, rather than we prescribe to everything from the format to the topic to the way of manner of presentation. No? We will be teaching our students to be dependent, no? Passive learners. So that's by advocating the positive relationship, encouraging students' participation, and promoting intrinsic motivation, we can maximize the educational experience for all our learners. So that's it for Unit 2, Lesson 2, all about the um, teacher learner relationship and classroom management approaches, specifically the rights and responsibilities of both teachers and the student.